you have answer 10 of your testimony in front of you?
I do.
And in answer 10, you describe the locations at which you set the monitoring stations. Is that correct? Or at least some of them?
That is correct.
And now looking at Company Exhibit 1E, please go to page 6 of your report. And that's about halfway through Exhibit E. In a report entitled Noise Impact Assessment for Republic Wind, Seneca and Sandusky County, Ohio, with a date of June 21, 2019. Do you have page 6 of your report in front of you?
I do.
Okay. Figure 2 on that page shows the locations of your monitoring stations, correct?
That is correct.
What information did you use to place the locations on figure 2?
Can you characterize what information?
For example, did you use GPS information or latitude, longitude information, or some other information to accurately identify the locations?
That's pretty ambiguous. Can you rephrase that?
Well, you see you have the names of your monitoring stations on figure 2, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you have a little triangle next to each title for each monitoring station, right?
That's correct.
Is the triangle meant to show the location of each of those monitoring stations?
That is correct.
And is there any particular part of the triangle where the monitoring station is located, such as the tip, or is it the entire triangle that marks the location?
It would be the midpoint of the triangle.
And how did you know where to put the triangles on this map that you have in figure 2?
So after we set up each of the monitors, I take a GPS point of where it was taken, and then I use that to derive a map like this one.
Now, on this map, you see an oddly shaped line on figure 2 that is designed to show the outside boundary of the project area for the Republic Wind project. Is that correct?
That map has the project boundary, that's correct.
Now, where did you obtain the information necessary to place the boundaries of the project area on figure 2?
That information would have come from Apex.
Your Honor, I'd like to mark our next exhibit. I think we're up to number 3. Permission to post the witness? Absolutely. All right, I've handed you what has been marked as local residence exhibit 3. Do you recognize this document?
I do.
Okay. And you signed the verification for this document?
That is correct.
And this document consists of answers to interrogatories. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And these interrogatories were signed on behalf of Republic Wind by you?
That is correct.
Did you contribute any of the information in the answers to these interrogatories?
I did contribute some of the information.
Which information did you contribute?
In interrogatory 1, I contributed the owner of the parcel on which the busy roadway monitor was located, and I contributed the parcel number. In interrogatory 2, I contributed the name of the landowner and the parcel number. And in interrogatory 3, I contributed the landowner and the parcel number.
Okay, you can set that aside for now. on page 5 of your noise report in company exhibit 1E, I would like to refer you to the first paragraph under 4.1, descriptions of the monitoring stations. Tell me when you're there.
Is this page 5?
Page 5.
I am there.
Okay. Look at the second sentence in the first paragraph of section 4.1, please. You'll see a sentence there that reads as follows. Each location was selected as representative of a given landscape or soundscape that would be in proximity of one or more of the proposed wind turbines. Do you see that?
I do see that.
Okay. Are you using landscape and soundscape in that sentence in the same manner? In other words, are they synonymous, or is there a different meaning for the two terms?
I would consider them complementary terms.
All right, so what do you mean by the given landscape that would be in proximity of one or more turbines?
Types of geographical features.
And did you look for any specific types of geographical features in deciding where to put the monitoring stations?
Presence or absence of vegetation, presence or absence of cultivated fields, location of roadways, location of other transportation, whether an area is flatter or has more of a roll to it. For example, the southern part of the project has a little bit more of an elevation to it.
And then what do you mean by soundscapes as used in that sentence?
Areas that have similar sound sources.
So when we look at each one of these monitoring stations, and we'll follow the same order as you describe them in your report. So that means we would start with the north boundary. Now looking at the bottom of page 6, the third to the last line, there starts a sentence that says, the project boundary is located approximately 1,220 meters, 4,000 feet to the east along TR 80 and the border between Seneca and Sandusky counties. You see that?
I do.
Okay, so that means that the north boundary monitoring site is located outside of the project area, correct?
For this version of the project boundary, that is correct.
And why do you qualify by saying that for this version of the project area, it's outside of the boundary of the project area?
Project boundary for this project has changed over time.
At the time that you did your background sound monitoring for this application, the project area covered a different portion of Seneca County than it does now, is that correct?
Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, I'll repeat it, it wasn't very well worded. At the time that you did your background sound monitoring, it's true, isn't it, that the project area boundaries are different than they are today?
That is correct.
And at the time that you did your background monitoring, the north boundary monitoring station was located inside of the boundaries of the project area that was being considered at that time, right?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay. Well, when you selected the locations for the monitoring stations, was it your intent to locate all of them inside of the project area?
Considering the purpose of the monitoring is to find representative soundscapes as much as everything, as much as anything, we try and put the monitoring locations within the project area, but if there is an available monitoring location that fits a soundscape inside the project area, but happens to be just outside, then we would go ahead and place it there.
Well, does that mean then, for example, that if you found a similar soundscape and landscape in a different county than the project area, that area would be eligible for the monitoring station?
If a monitoring location is far enough away, that in and of itself would be a disqualifier, for the simple reason that the meteorology might be substantially different.
And in the case of the monitoring station named the north boundary, that monitoring station was located at a spot that is now 4,000 feet away from the boundary of the project area that exists today, correct?
That appears correct.
What landscape or soundscape was the north boundary monitoring station designed to measure?
A lower vehicle traffic area is in the northern part of the project area.
Are there any areas inside of the project area as it exists today that have that type of landscape and soundscape?
It would be, from the mapping I have here in front of me, it'd be hard for me to make that distinction. However, from the mapping, I can't see any reason why the land 4,000 feet to the east would not be very similar.
So can you tell me what approximate percentage of land in the project area is fairly represented by the soundscape and landscape of the north boundary monitoring station?
I don't have a number for you there.
What sources of sound contributed to the sound that you measured at this monitoring station? And if it helps you, you can go to page 20 of your report.
The most prominent sound source was the rail line located approximately a mile to the north.
As a rule of thumb, how far away does a rail line have to be before you would no longer hear the train whistles or other noise from the railroad?
Rail lines are notorious for being able to, for being audible a very long distance away. From the analysis we did this project, train noise of one type or another was audible at all 7 monitoring locations at times. And we're talking several miles in some cases. I have seen in the literature accounts of freight trains being audible at distances of up to 25 miles.
But the closer you are to the train when it whistles, the louder the sound's going to be, right?
Assuming normal meteorology, yes.
Were there any other prevalent sounds that were measured at the north boundary monitoring station?
There were other sounds. Can you please define prevalent?
Well, were there any other sounds that you noticed at that location that stood out to you?
In most places in an area like this where you have a 1 mile road grid, car pass-bys are always going to be a source. And if you listen to the recordings, you can hear there are car pass-bys, they're just not the same magnitude as train horns.
Approximately how many car pass-bys were there per hour at this location?
I do not have that number.
Do you know whether it's less than 12 or average?
I don't have that number.
Go to page 9 of your report, please. And there you see a map showing the north boundary monitoring site, right?
That is correct.
And the map shows that you placed the monitoring station on the edge of a wooded area, right?
It's kind of a thicket more than anything else.
Okay. Does the thicket have trees in it?
There are some trees.
Did it have bushes in it?
It does have some bushes.
And the photograph at the bottom of page 9 shows where you put your monitoring station, right?
That is correct.
Okay. How many feet approximately from the nearest tree was the microphone placed?
probably about 15 feet.